Hey guys, it's Ashley, and today we're going to be talking about A Court of Mist and Fury by Sarah J. Maas. Like I did with my Air of Fire talk, I need a lot of space to just like walk around and pace and move. I don't want to say that I didn't believe you guys when you told me that it was as good as it was, but I didn't take it that it was as good as it was until I read it, and now I am complete trash for this series. Holy shit. 5 stars. Very, very great story. I literally cannot stop thinking about it after I've read it. It starts off good and it just keeps getting better and better and better and better and better. And there's literally no other way to explain it. So if you guys haven't hopped on board this series yet, don't be like me. Just hop on board. Please do. Please. Because the 3rd one is coming out and it's going to conclude the trilogy to the first part of the series. And I just hop on board, please. So that's gonna be the end for the spoiler-free section. Come back when you've read the book, and if you already have read the book, this is gonna be a very, very long ride. Let's get started. I'm going to put the book down because it's massive and very heavy. So we start off with Farah in the spring court. So everything under the mountain happened 3 months ago. Farah is still in the spring court with Tamlin. They are in love. I use that term very, very, very lightly. And Farah is pretty much suffering from PTSD. Like, I feel so bad for her at this point because every single night she has nightmares. Every single night she gets up and throws up. And Tamlin, I know, is dealing with his own shit, but like, help her. Help her, please. Like, she was just human 3 months ago. She just dealt with all of this while she was human. Yes, you might be dealing with your own shit too, but you have been Fae and have had more power for far longer than she has. She has never had to deal with this before. Please help her. But of course he doesn't. And I have just a little bit to say about Tamlin really fast, and you guys are probably gonna hate me for this, but I don't hate him as much as a lot of you guys seem to. I do hate him. I'm not gonna say that I don't. I despise him during certain parts of this book, especially toward the end. I absolutely despise him for everything that he's worth. But throughout a majority of the book, I didn't have this overwhelming hatred toward him because we didn't see him for a lot of the book. Yes, I hated him in the beginning, but once she left for the Night Court for good, I kind of forgot that he existed. And I was so focused on Rhys and Farah that I kind of shoved Tamlin out of existence. And so my hatred only comes back when he's in the picture. I can love Rhys and Farah, but I don't hate Tamlin unless he's there. You know what I mean? But don't get me wrong, I still despise him. Anyways, so she's suffering from this and they're gonna get married. I'm just like, no. And then we find out that Rhys hasn't cashed in his bargain. Like, he put this tattoo on her with the eye, and we know that he's watching her, but he hasn't cashed in the bargain. From the beginning of the book, because I had taken so long to read it, I knew that Rhys was going to be her mate. I knew it. I knew from the back of my mind, I knew that that's what was gonna happen. But I had just been waiting for him to cash in the bargain, and once I heard that they were gonna get married, that's when I thought, oh wait, that's when it's gonna happen. And damn if it didn't happen. She's like crying out in her mind, like, somebody help me. I cannot do this. And he comes to the rescue, and it's so great because at this point, I don't know anything that's gonna happen in the end, and I still slightly hate him, but I don't hate him as much because I know that something's gonna happen in the book, that she's gonna start liking him and things are gonna happen. So I'm forcing myself not to hate him as much as I really do. And he cashes in the bargain, and he takes her back to the Night Court for the week, and it's amazing. So while she's there for the first time, he's teaching her how to read. Even though we found out toward the end that the reason that Rhys was teaching her to read was so that she could read the words from the book to destroy the cauldron, it wasn't fully for that. Like, you knew somewhere in the back of your mind that Rhys was doing this out of like the good of his heart so that Farah could not feel so shitty about herself for not knowing how to read anymore. It was so adorable, and you knew that Tamlin would never ever have done that for her, let alone have ever found out that she didn't know how to read. And then Rhys tells her that he wants her help because she's caught the cereal before and he's tried twice and hasn't been able to do it. Like, okay, you are the most powerful High Lord in existence. How have you not been able to catch the cereal before? Like, unless the cereal wanted to be captured by Farah. You know what I mean? Like, what if the cereal in the back of his mind had like this plan that he was going to be captured by Farah just so that like the story would move forward. The first thing that Farah does when she gets back to the spring court is to tell Tamlin and Lucien and Ianth everything she knows about the night court. When she did that, the only thing that I could think was like, you have to know that Tamlin is not a good person at this point. You have to know that he's stepping all over you and he's letting everybody else step all over you, and why are you subjecting yourself to this? Everybody pretty much hates Tamlin when he locks Farah inside the house. That is the final straw for us. That's the final straw for Farah. And I don't understand what he was thinking. And I also don't understand how Lucien can't stand up for Farah in that moment. He's just like, yeah, well, it's Tamlin. He'll be back. He'll come around to his senses soon. Don't worry about it. And of course, that's when Mor comes and saves her and brings her back to the night court. I hate that scene, but I also love it because it like turns the whole plot around. So when Farah finally goes to the night court and actually decides she's going to stay in the night court, that is when she meets his inner circle. Now, I've heard things about his inner circle, so when I finally read about them, honestly, it was better than I could have ever imagined. It's just so funny how different things are versus the spring and the night court, you know? Like, Rhys and his inner circle, they're so comfortable and casual with each other, and I know that it's because they've been with each other for 500 years and have fought in wars and stuff, but they are so great. Like, Cassian and Azriel, they just talk back to him. Mor, even though she's his cousin, she just has like this really casual, you know, feeling, even though Amryn is like, you know, not Fae, she's kind of like something else entirely, but even she is like just so comfortable and casual, and Farah has such a hard time believing all of it. So a little bit later, we find out how Rhys kept Valaris' secret from Amarantha. Oh my god, that literally just like tore into me and broke my heart. He's under the mountain, and when he realizes that all of his power has been taken, he takes every last ounce of power that he has and he throws it over Valaris, and he throws it into the minds of his inner circle, and he tells them, you are not allowed to leave. You stay there until this is over with. Everybody that he brought with him from the Court of Nightmares, he erases all memory of Valaris from their minds, and the entire time he keeps Amarantha distracted from questioning him by becoming her whore. Nobody would have had the guts to do that but Rhys. Okay, the bone carver scene was really weird because Farah imagined him as like this 8-year-old boy, and so the entire time I'm like trying to imagine that this 8-year-old boy is like this unspeakable thing down in the prison. And when Farah spills the secret that if Amarantha had not killed her in Under the Mountain, Farah would have killed herself. And Rhys just like freezes. And like now that I'm knowing what happens at the end now, I'm just trying to imagine what was going through Rhys's mind at this point, because he had to have been thinking like, if she would have died, I would have died. Like When he makes Farah the ambassador to the human world, my heart just swelled, because that is something that Tamlin would never in a million years have ever let her do, even though his court is the closest to the wall. It just makes you love Rhys so much more. The fact that Tamlin would not let her train her power to control it, it's just literally common sense. Her whole argument is that, what if there's a time when you can't protect me? I want to learn how to protect myself. And Tamlin's like, no, that's not gonna happen. There was a time when you could not protect her, and she had to protect herself, Tamlin. But then when Rhys starts like training her and getting her to help her control it and understand it, that was like a true test of you two are meant to be. Like, even if you weren't mates, you two are meant to be. He's just genuinely a really good guy, and despite this facade that he puts out that he's just this horrible evil torturer, it just makes me so sad to see that everybody else already has their opinions of him, and he, you know, doesn't try to put that out of their minds, because as long as they think badly of him, they won't come to his court to see him. And the first time that they all go to the human world, so much happens. Okay, they meet with the queens, and the queens are assholes. They're bitches. I hate them so much. In addition to that, Cassian and Nesta are so freaking adorable, especially because I have the Target edition, and so it came with like a short story in the back of Cassian and Nesta, and if they don't end up together, I'm gonna be really pissed. Like, unless one of them ends up dying, which I'm not looking forward to at all. Farah and Rhys go out into the woods to practice her magic, and then she tells him that she can't concentrate when he's here, so he leaves, and then they start passing the notes to each other. Oh my god. But then she gets captured by the adder, and you're like, Oh my god. And the scene when they're back at the night court and Rhys is having the nightmare, the blackness and the darkness is just swirling into Farah's room. So she rushes to Rhys's room and she shakes him and she's screaming at him to wake up, and he wakes up and he's like stark naked, but like that doesn't matter at the moment because she's there for him and he's there for her, and they both understand how it feels to have the nightmares, but they're there for each other where Tamlin wasn't, and it's so great, and I can't get over how it's so great. So when they go to the summer court for the book, that whole part just like threw me off because we were in another court with another guy. It was really weird. Farah was trying to get him with Tarquin, and it was making Rhys jealous, and like Farah was trying to make Rhys jealous, but at the same time she was trying to get the book, so she was trying to be really nice to Tarquin. But then that scene where Farah finally gets the book, when they were at the dinner and Farah mentions the little like building that she sees like go under the water when the high tide comes in, and you see Tarquin like glance over to the girl, and then the girl glances over to Tarquin, and then they glance over to the other guy, and they're all glancing at each other, and you're like, oh, these are not accidental glances. This means something. Farah and Amren, they go to that building and they find the book, and all of a sudden the water starts rushing in and the alarms go off, and when the water wraiths show up, that was a really good part because as soon as they started drowning, I was like, okay, these water wraiths are gonna have to repay their payment right now, like right this very second. And when they did, I was really happy about that because that just meant that nobody died. In the summer court is also where we find out that Tarquin is just like Rhys, where he wants to kind of diminish the boundary between the lesser fairies and the high fae, and I really liked that about him. I think that he's a genuinely good guy and he wants nothing to do with any of the horrible things that are going on. And then of course the one scene where Farah and Rhys are on the balcony and they're drinking and they toast. Farah's like says something to the stars or something, and then Rhys is like, to the stars who listen and the dreams that are answered. And a lot of the time I really felt bad for Amren because we find out that she's not from this world and she was put into this fae body, so she like understands Farah and the point where she was made again, you know, but at the same time all she wants to do is go home, and I feel so bad for her a lot of the time because she can't. I hope beyond hope that she can go home. The one thing that really confused me just at least a little bit throughout this whole story was the Miriam, Draken, Jurian story. So Jurian was like the admiral or the general or something from the human world, and Miriam was like made again, and Jurian fell in love with her, but then Jurian went like bloodthirsty and went after Amarantha, and when Amarantha killed him, then Miriam went to Draken, and then they ran off together on an island, and everybody thinks they're dead, but they're not, except for like the inner circle. They all know they're alive. I still feel like I have it wrong. I want to know how any of that is going to play out in the next book, because the only person that we really saw was Jurian at the end of this book. I want to know who they are. I'm just really curious. The scene in the Court of Nightmares, that was a steamy scene. Rhys has to like put on this show because they need to get the orb from Mor's father to be able to show the queens that they're telling the truth about Valaris, because the orb is like the orb of truth or something. But in the middle of the scene, I completely forgot that we were supposed to be getting the orb, because what was happening between Rhys and Farah was just so steamy. When Israel finally did get the orb and the whole thing stopped, I was like, wait, what just happened? I hate that Farah had to be like subjected to that like, you know, demeaning kind of position that she was in. And Rhys had her back all at the same time, and she was only pretending to be that role. But at the same time, I hated seeing that she was kind of demeaned in that position. But then afterwards, this Starfall scene. Farah's like, I don't understand what's so great about the Starfall, and everybody's like, just wait, you'll see. And so Rhys and her, they go up to the balcony, the stars start falling, and they look absolutely incredible, but they're not actually stars. They're like other souls that are traveling from like one point to another, but they look like stars, and all of a sudden one comes and like hits Farah right in the face, and they both start cracking up, and then all of a sudden the other one hits Rhys right in the face, and they crack up some more, and it's so great. Farah smiles and grins for like the first time in forever, and Rhys tells her that she's exquisite, and then she smiles again, and she asks him to dance. It's so cute. I wrote in my notes, I was about 450 pages into the book, and I was so focused on Farah and Rhys that I had no idea what they were doing plot-wise. Honestly forgot that this whole entire thing was to get at the King of Hybern. I was just so focused on Rhys and Farah that like, as soon as Hybern was mentioned, I was like, hi who? When Lucian comes and finds Farah in the woods and he tells her that he's been hunting for her and she's like, oh, like I'm some animal you've just been hunting for me? Like he just demands it. He's like, you're gonna come back with me, and Farah's like, are you kidding me? So he tries to grab for her and she winnows the hell out of there, and then Rhys comes to stand by her side and she's like, if you send anybody else after me, I will hunt them down and I will make sure they regret it. And Lucian's like, whoa, who are you? And I'm like, yes! And then in the same scene, she makes those Illyrian wings. And Rhys, meanwhile, is like, oh my god, you look so good with wings. And then Rhys and Farah are flying in the sky, and those bitches shoot him out of the sky, and like, my heart is racing because his wings have just been shot through like multiple times, and he constantly says that like an Illyrian's wings are like the most important thing in his whole life. And if anything happens to an Illyrian's wings, like the person would literally want to die. And those stupid people who shot him down, they take Rhys, and Farah goes at it. She goes ham. She winnows and winnows and winnows, and then all of a sudden she finds them and she tears them to shreds. She grabs Rhys and she brings him back to that cave, and so she goes and immediately captures the cereal. And the cereal, oh boy, the cereal. If you want to speed up your mate's healing process, my what? Your what? Like I said, I knew that Rhys and Farah were gonna be mates from the beginning just because I waited so long to read this book, and now that I finally have, like I knew that that was gonna be something that happened, but I didn't expect it to come about in that way. I didn't expect the cereal to tell her that they were like, I didn't know. Of course, Farah being Farah, you know, people are keeping secrets from her. She goes back to Rhys and heals him with her blood. Farah takes him back and leaves him in the freaking mud. And she flies up to that cabin. She stays there for days on end, and then she starts painting. And then one day, she gets a visit from Rhys. He showed up and he's apologizing. And you know that she's not gonna be able to stay mad at him. You know it. You know that she's not gonna be able to. That scene, out of all of the scenes in the entire book, that scene where Rhys sits down and explains everything. From the moment he was captured in the war, from the moment that Amarantha took his power, from the moment that he first saw her at the Calamai, from the moment that he got back from Amarantha and realized that Farah was his mate. That was my favorite part of the entire book, because you got to know everything that happened from Rhys's point of view. And out of that whole scene, the one part that really, really stuck out to me and literally made me cry, like I was tearing up at this point, and I'm literally tearing up right now thinking about it, and I need to stop. It was the part where he said that he had been constantly dreaming about this girl and these human hands, and he's under the mountain with Amarantha, and he's in this horrible, horrible place in his mind right now, and all he sees are these dreams of this girl, and it's the only thing that's keeping him alive and the only thing that's keeping him breathing. After all of that, he convinces Amarantha to let him go to Calamai to find her. Like, not even to bring back anybody for Amarantha like he said he would. It was to find her. And when he finds her, and that first scene that we meet him in Akatar, the very, very first scene we meet him in at Calamai, and he sees her, and the first thing that he says is, "There you are. I've been looking everywhere for you." And you realize just how much that sentence is packed with meaning, and how much that sentence is packed with raw emotion and feeling and just devotion. That part, that one revelation had me in tears, like literal tears, you guys. She was his salvation. That is what he said. And I think that that one sentence, "I've been looking for you. Thank you for finding her for me." It just seems so simple, but it's packed with so much meaning, and I just cannot get over it. And no matter how many times I reread that scene over and over again, and by this point it's been 3 times, I've read this scene 3 times, I can't stop, I'm sorry. Those 2 sentences will never, ever, ever lose their impact, because it is just so meaningful. And then everything goes to hell. So the queens tell Hybern about Valaris. Valaris gets attacked, and then they decide they're gonna go infiltrate Hybern's castle. So they all go to Hybern, and they take the parts of the book so that Farah can read the spell to destroy the cauldron, and when they get to the cauldron, Jurian stops them, and Jurian's like, "Hey, you didn't think you'd get this far, did you?" And then they cut off all the magic so that nobody can leave and nobody can use any of it. They bring them up to the King of Hybern, and Hybern is there with Tamlin and Lucian and Jurian. Everything just goes to hell in that scene because I'm thinking, oh my god, if somebody dies, if something happens, I cannot think at that moment. So Tamlin is there, and Tamlin's talking to Farah like she's dog. And Tamlin ended up making the deal with Hybern that when all of the inner circle, if Rhys and his friends and Farah came, that Hybern would give Farah to Tamlin, and Hybern would get to kill everybody else. And then we find out that Ianth sold out Farah's family, so Cassian's wings are shredded, and the magic is snuffed out, but Farah is able to use enough of it to break the wards down. And Farah gives, like, honestly the best acting scene of her life, because if she had been no good at acting, none of this would have been played out very well. So she pretends that Rhys brought her there against her will and begs Hybern to break the bond. Rhys is just like you can't tell if Rhys is playing along or if he's truly scared out of his mind. Hybern breaks the bond, but he ends up only breaking the bargain. Farah says, I will go with Tamlin, but you have to let all of them go. So Rhys and all of the inner circle and Nesta and Elaine, who are now high fae, and don't even get me started on how Elaine is Lucian's mate, like that is going to play out in a whole other part. Oh my god. Farah goes back with Tamlin, Rhys saves his people, and Hybern, I don't even know what Hybern's doing. Like, everybody just went their own way. Where does he even work? Like Tamlin, Lucian, and Farah, they're all in the Spring Court now. Rhys, everybody else, Nesta and Elaine are in the Night Court. Where does that leave Hybern? Like, what is he gonna do? I am, like, devastated. At this point, we're in Rhys's point of view. And when I first see that we have Rhys's point of view, I'm thinking, oh my god, Rhys and Farah are in two separate parts of Prythian, which means that they're definitely going to have multiple point of views in Akawar. Now, I don't know if it's just Rhys and Farah, or if it's multiple point of views from everybody, but if it's just Rhys and Farah, I am screaming right now. When we find out that Rhysand and Farah went to the priestess and they made her High Lady of the Night Court, and she has the tattoo on her right hand now, and he says that she will not be used for decorum, she will not be used for breeding, she will be my equal, and equal in all parts. We flash to Farah in the Spring Court, and she's playing along with Tamlin, and she's like, oh my god, thank you for saving me. I was so scared out of my mind, I'm so happy to be back home. And Lucian, meanwhile, is like, how did you get out of his control? Like, completely questioning her. The very, very last line of the entire book. And so Tamlin unwittingly led the High Lady of the Night Court into the heart of his territory. I am so ready for Akawar. I want to know what's going to happen with Nesta and Elaine. I want to know what's going to happen with Nesta and Cassian. I want to know what Lucian is going to be willing to do to get back to Elaine. That is the biggest thing that I'm questioning. I want to know if anybody is going to find out that Farah is High Lady of the Night Court. I want to know what everyone's going to do when they find out. I want to know what Rhys is going to do to get her back. I want to know what they're all planning. I want to know if Amren's going to go back home. I want to know if Azriel and Moore are ever going to get together. I want to know who's going to die, because somebody, if not multiple somebodies, are going to die. And so that is my long book talk for A Court of Mist and Fury. Thank you guys so much for watching. I know I didn't even come close to naming all of the scenes, talking about all of my feelings for everything. I didn't even talk about my feelings for Azriel more. I don't think I ever mentioned Azriel, to be completely honest. I know a ton of you guys have read this book, a ton of you guys have been waiting for my book talk, so please let me know your favorite scenes and your favorite characters and what you are most excited for and scared for in A Court of Wings and Ruin. Just talk to me, because I am so excited for this book. And it comes out so soon, and I'm so excited, and I cannot wait. So again, thank you guys so much for watching, and I will catch you later. Bye!